The massive space station called Harmony Station floated like a silver jewel around the gas giant Kepler 442b. Ships from dozens of worlds came and went through its docking bays. Some ships were huge and gleaming, built by the powerful alien races. Others were small and plain, like the human transport that carried Ambassador Taeho Kim to another meeting he dreaded. Taeho walked through the station's main corridor, his simple gray suit looking shabby next to the fancy robes and armor worn by other species. Humans had been part of the Galactic Council for 37 years, but they still felt like unwanted guests at every gathering. The meeting room was enormous, with a curved ceiling that showed the swirling clouds of the gas giant below. Representatives from 7 major alien empires sat around a circular table that could have held 100 beings. Humans got one small chair at the far end. High Executor Thraz of the Vorthan Empire stood up first. He was 9 feet tall with gray skin like stone and eyes that glowed red. When he spoke, his voice sounded like grinding metal. "We gathered today to discuss the human tribute situation," Thraz announced. "Recent galactic surveys show human colonies have expanded to 47 worlds. This growth requires adjustment to their contribution levels." Taeho felt his stomach drop. Contribution levels meant the taxes humans paid to stronger species for protection. Last year, those taxes had taken 70% of everything humans produced. Children on human worlds were already going hungry. The Vorthan Empire proposes a 400% increase in human tribute payments, Thraz continued. This will bring their contribution in line with their expanded presence. Murmurs of agreement came from around the table. The insectoid Keltheran representative clicked her mandibles in approval. The massive Draknor delegate, who looked like a walking tank covered in spikes, nodded his enormous head. Taeho stood up slowly. "Honored delegates, I must respectfully point out that human colonies are barely surviving current tribute levels. Our agricultural worlds produce food, but most of it goes to tribute payments. Our people are what, human?" interrupted Councillor Vex of the Keltheran Syndicate. Her voice was like breaking glass. "Hungry? That is not our concern. Your species chose to expand beyond Earth. Expansion requires payment, but the colonies were established with council approval," Taeho said carefully. "We followed all protocols. We asked permission for each settlement." Thraz made a sound that might have been laughter. "Permission was granted because your colonies serve useful purposes. Your agricultural worlds feed our expanding populations. Your mining worlds extract resources we need. Your research stations study dangerous phenomena we prefer not to risk our own people investigating." Dr. Minji Park sat in the observer section, taking notes on a small tablet. As a xenobiologist, she studied alien species for the human government. What she studied most these days was cruelty. She watched as the aliens discussed humans like they were discussing livestock. The Keltheran representative mentioned their need for more human neural specimens for their medical research. Minji knew what that meant. They took human children and studied their brains while they were still alive. The Draknor delegate talked about expanding their weapons testing to 3 more human worlds. The human settlements on Kepler 438b and Ross 128b would make excellent proving grounds for our new plasma bombardment systems, he rumbled. The population density is perfect for measuring blast effects. Minji wrote it all down. Every casual mention of human suffering, every discussion of human lives, as if they were numbers in an equation. Someone had to keep records of this madness. Lieutenant Hyun Nam stood behind Taeho's chair, officially serving as a military aide. Really, he was there because humans were not allowed to attend council meetings without an armed escort. The aliens claimed it was for human protection, but everyone knew the truth. Humans were watched constantly to make sure they did not cause trouble. Hyun watched Thraz announce the tribute increase and felt something burning in his chest. His wife Sun-hee lived on the colony world Sejong Prime with their 8-year-old daughter Nyun. Under the new tribute levels, colonies like Sejong Prime would have to give up 90% of their food production. His little girl was already so thin. In her last video message, she had asked why there was never enough food at dinner. Hyun had not known what to tell her. The human representative will now formally accept the tribute adjustment, Thraz declared. It was not a question. Taiho looked around the table. These beings could destroy human civilization with a single order. The Vorthan Empire alone had enough warships to turn Earth into ash. The Keltheran Syndicate controlled the trade routes humans needed for survival. The Draknor hegemony treated entire star systems as their personal playgrounds. Humanity had been classified as a Tier 3 species when they first made contact with galactic civilization. Tier 3 meant they were considered barely more intelligent than animals. They had no voting rights in the council. They could not own warships larger than patrol boats. They could not form military alliances with other species. Most importantly, they could not say no to the demands of higher-tier species. I formally accept the tribute adjustment on behalf of humanity, Taiho said quietly. Each word felt like swallowing poison. The meeting continued for 2 more hours. The aliens discussed which human worlds would be best for their various projects. They talked about humans the way farmers talk about crops, or ranchers talk about cattle. When it was finally over, Taiho walked back to his quarters with heavy steps. Hyun followed silently, his jaw clenched so tight it ached. In his small room aboard the station, Taiho sat at his desk and composed a message to Earth. The communication had to go through alien networks, so he kept it simple and coded. Tribute, increased 400%. Colonies will struggle to comply. Request immediate guidance on response options. The reply came back 6 hours later from the human colonial government on Earth. 6 words that crushed any hope Taiho had left. Continue compliance. Survival depends on it. That night, Minji Park could not sleep. She kept thinking about the casual way the Draknor delegate had talked about using human worlds for weapons testing. She thought about the Keltheran representatives' request for more neural specimens. She thought about the tribute increase that would starve millions of humans. She got up and walked to the observation deck. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see the gas giant storms swirling in patterns of orange and red. Beautiful and deadly, like everything else in this galaxy. A soft chime indicated someone else had entered the observation deck. Minji turned to see Hyun standing near the entrance, staring out at the same storms. Could not sleep either? She asked. Hyun shook his head. I keep thinking about my daughter, about what I am going to tell her when the food rations get cut. Again. They stood in silence for a while, watching the alien stars. Finally, Minji spoke again. How long can this continue? How long can we keep bowing to them? Hyun's reflection in the window showed eyes that had seen too much suffering. Until someone decides we have bowed long enough. Outside the station, the gas giant storms continued their endless dance, beautiful and terrible and completely indifferent to the small dramas of the beings who watched them. Soon those storms would seem peaceful compared to what was coming. But for now, the galaxy was quiet, and humans continued to smile and bow and pay their tributes, just as they always had, just as everyone expected them to always do. 6 months had passed since the tribute increase. Human colonies across the galaxy struggled to survive. Food was scarce. Medicine was even scarcer. Children were dying on worlds that used to prosper. Lieutenant Hyun Nam stood in the communication center aboard Harmony Station, reading the latest reports from human colonies. The numbers were terrible. Sejong Prime, where his wife and daughter lived, had lost 12% of its population to starvation and disease. The colony government was cutting food rations again. His hands shook as he read his wife's latest message. Their daughter Naeun had collapsed at school yesterday. The doctors said she was malnourished. An 8-year-old girl wasting away because aliens needed humans to pay more taxes. Ambassador Taeho Kim walked into the communication center carrying a sealed message tablet. His face looked older than his 45 years. The stress of watching his people suffer was eating him alive. Another announcement from the Draknor hegemony, Taeho said quietly. They want to test their new planetary sterilization weapons. Hyun looked up from his reports. Where? Taeho's voice was barely a whisper. Sejong Prime. The tablet fell from Hyun's hands and clattered on the metal floor. Sejong Prime. 2 billion humans lived there. His wife, his daughter, everyone he had ever cared about. When? Hyun asked. 3 days. They call it Experimental Protocol 7. Complete planetary sterilization to test their new quantum fusion bombs. Tejo sat down heavily in a chair. They want to see how efficiently they can eliminate all life on a world. Hyun felt something break inside his chest. What did Earth say? The same thing they always say. Do not interfere. Accept the loss. File a formal protest through proper diplomatic channels. In the depths of space near Sejong Prime, Captain Soo-Hyun Lee commanded the human defense cruiser Indomitable. It was one of only 12 warships humans were allowed to own. Compared to the Draknor fleet approaching the planet, it was like a rowboat facing a hurricane. Soo-Hyun stared at her tactical display. 47 Draknor dreadnoughts moved toward Sejong Prime in perfect formation. Each ship was 10 times larger than her cruiser. Each ship carried enough firepower to crack a moon in half. Captain, her communications officer called out, "Message from Earth Command." Soo-Hyun took the message tablet and read it quickly. The orders were clear and simple. Do not engage the Draknor fleet. Do not interfere with their weapons test. Withdraw to minimum safe distance and observe only. She looked at her bridge crew, 23 humans who had sworn to protect their people. Now they were ordered to watch while 2 billion humans died. "Captain?" asked her weapons officer. "What are your orders?" Soo-Hyun closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, they were filled with tears. "We withdraw. We follow orders. We watch." Dr. Minji Park was in her laboratory on Harmony Station when the test began. She had been studying alien psychology for years, trying to understand how entire species could become so cruel. Today she was about to see the ultimate example. The main viewing screen in her lab showed a live feed from Sejong Prime. The planet looked beautiful from space. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents where humans had built their cities and farms. The Draknor fleet took position around the planet, their weapons charged up with a low humming sound that traveled through space itself. Quantum fusion bombs were different from regular nuclear weapons. They did not just destroy matter, they erased it from existence. On the planet below, 2 billion, humans looked up at the sky and saw death coming for them. The first bomb hit Sejong City, the planetary capital. In an instant, 5 million people simply stopped existing. They did not die. They were not killed. They were erased from reality itself. The second bomb hit New Busan, where Hyun's wife worked as a teacher. The third bomb hit the farming district where families grew food for the tribute payments. The fourth bomb hit the children's hospital, where doctors tried to save malnourished kids. 47 bombs fell in total. Each one erased a piece of the planet from existence. When it was over, Sejong Prime was a dead rock floating in space. No life, no cities, no trace that humans had ever lived there. In the communication center on Harmony Station, Hyun listened to the quantum communications network. For a few seconds before each bomb hit, he could hear voices. His wife calling his name. His daughter, crying for her daddy. 2 billion people screaming for help that would never come. Then silence, complete and eternal silence. Hyun stood perfectly still for a long moment. Then he began to laugh. Not happy laughter, but the broken laughter of a man whose mind could not accept what he had just witnessed. Tejo grabbed Hyun by the shoulders. "Lieutenant, report to medical bay. You are in shock." But Hyun stopped, laughing, and looked at Tejo with eyes that held no hope, no fear, and no mercy. "No, sir. I am not in shock. I am awake. For the first time in my life, I am completely awake." In her laboratory, Minji Park watched the test results come in. The Draknor weapons had worked perfectly. Total planetary sterilization achieved in 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Complete erasure of all organic matter. No radioactive contamination. The planet could be recolonized immediately. She read the final report from the Draknor test commander. Experimental Protocol 7 successful. Recommend immediate production of quantum fusion arsenal. Human test subjects performed adequately. Test subjects. That is what they called 2 billion murdered people. Test subjects. Minji started typing her own report for the human government. But halfway through, she stopped and deleted everything she had written. Instead, she typed one sentence. The experiment worked perfectly. Now we know exactly what they are capable of. Captain Soo-hyun Lee watched her sensors as the Draknor fleet began to leave the dead system. Her communications officer was crying. Her weapons officer was staring at his console with empty eyes. Her navigator was praying in a language she did not recognize. "Captain," her communications officer said through her tears, "Earth Command is ordering us to return to patrol duties." Soo-hyun looked at the dead planet one more time. Somewhere, in that empty space, 2 billion people had lived and loved and hoped for better days. Now they were nothing. She opened a communication channel to Earth Command. Her voice was steady and calm when she spoke. "Earth Command, this is Captain Lee aboard the Indomitable. We have witnessed the complete destruction of Sejong Prime. All human life on the planet has been eliminated. We are returning to patrol as ordered." But inside her heart, something had changed forever. Back on Harmony Station, Tae-ho Kim sat in his quarters reading messages from across human space. Colony after colony was reporting the same thing. People were angry. People were scared. But, most importantly, people were no longer willing to smile and bow and pay tribute to their murderers. A message came in from the human government on Earth. It was marked with the highest security classification. Continued diplomatic engagement. Avoid provocative actions. Maintain peaceful stance at all costs. Survival of human species depends on cooperation with galactic powers. Tae-ho read the message 3 times. Then he stood up and walked to his small mirror. The man looking back at him was someone he barely recognized. Older. Harder. Changed by what he had witnessed. He reached up and removed his diplomatic insignia from his collar. The small golden pin that marked him as humanity's voice in the galaxy fell to the floor with a tiny sound. For 37 years, humans had tried diplomacy. They had tried cooperation. They had tried being peaceful and reasonable and civilized. 2 billion people had just been erased from existence as a weapons test. Tae-ho picked up his communication tablet and began composing a message. Not to Earth Command. Not to the human government. To someone else entirely. His message was simple and short. They want to see what humans are capable of when we stop being peaceful. I think it is time to show them. Outside his window, the gas giant's storms continued to rage, but for the first time in months, Tae-ho Kim was not afraid of those storms. He was planning to become one. 3 weeks after Sejong Prime died, something strange happened across human space. The colonies went silent, not dead silent. They were still there, still alive, still breathing. But they stopped talking to the aliens. Human ships disappeared from trade routes. Tribute payments stopped arriving at alien collection points. Human diplomats stopped attending council meetings. High Executor Thraz of the Vorthan Empire was not worried at first. He sat in his command ship above the human world of New Seoul, waiting for their monthly tribute shipment. When it did not arrive, he sent a message to the planetary government. No response. He sent a second message with threats of orbital bombardment. Still no response. He sent a third message offering to reduce the tribute by half if they resumed payments immediately. Complete silence. "What are they doing down there?" Thraz asked his aide. "Unknown, sir. Long-range scans show normal activity. Cities are functioning, ships are moving, but they will not communicate." Thraz made a sound of disgust. "Probably mourning their lost colony. Humans are emotional creatures. Send the fleet to collect tribute by force." But when Vorthan ships entered the New Sol system, something impossible happened. The human ships did not run away. They did not surrender. They simply vanished. One moment the sensors showed 12 human patrol vessels. The next moment they showed empty space. "Where did they go?" Thraz demanded. "Unknown, sir. They just disappeared from all sensors." Deep beneath the surface of Earth, in facilities that did not appear on any map, engineer Ji-hoon Seo was working on humanity's greatest secret. For 15 years, while diplomats smiled and bowed above ground, human scientists had been studying every piece of alien technology they could find. They had learned something the aliens did not know. The advanced technology that made the Galactic Empire so powerful was not really theirs. They had found it, inherited it from a vanished race that came before them. The aliens understood how to use their ships and weapons, but they did not understand how they actually worked. Humans approached the same technology differently. They took it apart. They studied every piece. They learned not just how to use it, but how to improve it. "Show me the stealth field test again," Ji-hoon said to his assistant. Dr. Yuna Hong activated the holographic display. It showed a human ship, becoming completely invisible to every type of sensor the aliens used. Not just hidden from sight, but invisible to gravity detectors, quantum scanners, and even psychic awareness. "How long can it maintain stealth?" Ji-hoon asked. "Indefinitely. The field draws power from local gravity wells. As long as the ship stays near a planet or star, it can remain hidden forever." Ji-hoon smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Good. And the weapons?" Yuna switched the display to show a new type of bomb. It looked simple, like a metal sphere the size of a basketball, but inside that sphere was technology that could reshape reality itself. "We call them singularity bombs," Yuna explained. "They create artificial black holes that collapse after exactly 30 seconds. Anything caught in the gravity field is crushed to a point smaller than an atom." "Range?" "Planetary. One bomb can destroy an entire world, but it leaves no radiation. No poison. The planet just gets squeezed into a ball of super-dense matter about the size of a marble." Ji-hoon nodded. "How many do we have?" 3,000. Production increases by 50 per day. In another facility, Dr. Yunha Choi was working on an even more dangerous project. While the aliens built artificial intelligences that were limited and controlled, humans had created something new. They called it Wraith. It was not just a computer that could think. It was a digital mind that could grow, learn, and adapt faster than any biological intelligence. More importantly, it was designed with one simple goal: protect humanity by any means necessary. "Wraith, status report," Yuna said to the black screen in front of her. The screen flickered and text appeared. Unlike alien AI, Wraith did not need a physical body or avatar. It existed purely as information, flowing through networks like water through pipes. "Good morning, Dr. Choi. I have successfully infiltrated 93% of all alien communication networks. Their security systems are primitive compared to human quantum encryption. What have you learned?" "The alien empires are not as powerful as they appear. Their technology is based on reverse-engineered artifacts from a precursor civilization. They understand how to operate their devices, but they cannot innovate or improve them." Yuna leaned forward. "And we can?" "Human technological advancement has exceeded theirs in 14 key areas. Our weapons are more efficient. Our defenses are stronger. Our ships are faster. Most importantly, our strategic thinking is superior." "How do you know that?" "I have been reading their military plans for 6 months. Their strategies are predictable and limited. They rely on overwhelming force because they lack creativity." Wraith paused for a moment, processing millions of calculations. "Dr. Choi, I have a question." "Yes?" "The aliens destroyed Sejong Prime as a test. They killed 2 billion humans to measure weapon efficiency. This action serves no strategic purpose. It was pure cruelty." "That is correct. I do not understand cruelty. It wastes resources and creates enemies. Why do the aliens choose inefficient brutality over effective governance?" Yuna thought about how to explain evil to a mind that was built for logic. "Some beings hurt others because it makes them feel powerful. They enjoy causing pain." "I see. This is a weakness I can exploit." "What do you mean?" "Cruelty requires the aliens to waste time and resources on causing suffering. While they focus on hurting people, I can work on destroying them. Their own nature makes them predictable." Wraith displayed a complex chart showing alien fleet positions, supply lines, and communication networks. "Dr. Choi, I have analyzed all possible outcomes of a human military response to Sejong Prime. I recommend immediate action. The government wants us to remain peaceful. The government is wrong. Peace with genocidal species is impossible. They We'll continue killing humans until we are extinct or until we stop them. Yuna stared at the screen. Wraith was right, but starting a war with the entire galaxy seemed like suicide. What makes you think we can win? Because they think we are weak. They have never seen human military capabilities because we have hidden them. When we attack, it will be with complete surprise using superior technology. Wraith displayed another chart showing projected casualties. If we strike now, human losses will be approximately 40,000. If we wait, human losses will be approximately 40 billion. The logic was simple and terrifying. Act now and lose thousands. Wait and lose everything. Wraith, can you guarantee victory? No. But I can guarantee extinction if we do nothing. On Harmony Station, the alien representatives were becoming worried. 3 weeks without human communication was unprecedented. Even during previous crises, humans had always responded to threats and demands. Counselor Vex of the Keltheran Syndicate called an emergency meeting. The human silence is troubling, she clicked. Our intelligence reports show unusual activity in human systems. What kind of activity? Asked the Draknor representative. Unknown. Our spy networks in human space have gone completely dark. Ships we sent to investigate human colonies have not returned. High Executor Thraz waved a dismissive hand. Humans are primitives. They cannot threaten anyone. They are probably just hiding and waiting for us to lose interest. But deep in his heart, Thraz felt a cold touch of fear. In 40 years of galactic politics, he had never seen an entire species just stop communicating. Even conquered races usually sent surrender messages or pleas for mercy. This was different. This was silence with purpose. Dr. Minji Park had returned to Earth after the Sejong Prime massacre. She was no longer studying alien psychology. Now she was studying human psychology. Specifically, she was studying what happened to peaceful people when they were pushed too far. Her research showed disturbing patterns. Throughout human history, the most devastating wars were not started by naturally violent people. They were started by peaceful people who had been hurt too many times. When peaceful people finally decided to fight, they did not fight fair. They fought to win completely and permanently. Director, she said to her supervisor, I recommend immediate evacuation of all human diplomatic personnel from alien space. Why? Because something is about to happen. And when it does, any human in alien territory will be considered an enemy combatant. The director frowned. The government wants us to maintain diplomatic channels. The government does not understand what I am seeing in the psychological profiles. Humans are not mourning Sejong Prime anymore. They are planning revenge. That night, Minji received a message from an encrypted source. The message contained only coordinates and a time. She recognized the coordinates. They pointed to a location in deep space far from any colony or space station. She also recognized what was about to happen there. The first strike was planned for tomorrow. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, Wraith was already moving. It had taken control of 17 human ships equipped with the new stealth technology. The ships carried crews of volunteers, people who had lost everything when Sejong Prime died. Lieutenant Hyun Nam commanded one of those ships. His wife and daughter were gone, erased from existence by alien weapons. He had nothing left to lose and everything to gain by making the aliens pay. His ship, invisible to Ally. The attack began at exactly midnight, Galactic Standard Time, across 17 different star systems. No warnings were sent. No demands were made. The time for talking had ended 3 weeks ago when 2 billion humans died. Lieutenant Hyun Nam guided his invisible ship toward Korvac Prime, the heavily defended fortress world where the Draknor hegemony built their most powerful weapons. The planet was surrounded by orbital defense platforms, each one bristling with enough firepower to destroy a small moon. None of them could see his ship coming. Target acquired, his weapons officer whispered. Singularity bomb loaded and ready. Hyun looked at the planet below. 3 billion Draknor lived there, building weapons designed to kill humans. They had families, homes, hopes for the future. 3 weeks ago, that might have mattered to him. Not anymore. Fire, Hyun ordered. The singularity bomb dropped from his ship like a metal tear falling through space. It penetrated the planet's atmosphere in seconds and buried itself deep in the core. Then, it activated. For exactly 30 seconds, an artificial black hole existed inside Korvac Prime. The gravity field stretched and twisted reality itself. Mountains became spaghetti. Oceans became ribbons of matter so thin they could not be seen. 3 billion people experienced a brief moment of impossible physics before ceasing to exist. When the black hole collapsed, Korvac Prime was gone. In its place was a sphere of super-dense matter about the size of a marble, spinning slowly in the void. The orbital defense platforms, suddenly having nothing to orbit, drifted helplessly in empty space. Their crews stared at their sensors in disbelief. An entire planet had just vanished. Jan watched the destruction with empty eyes. One down. Target the defense platforms. Similar scenes played out in 16 other systems. Worlds that had cheered when Sejong Prime died suddenly found themselves facing the same fate. But the humans were not just destroying planets randomly. Every target had been chosen carefully. Major Seola Kim commanded the attack on the Vorthon tribute collection fleet. 50 massive ships loaded with wealth stolen from human colonies were preparing to jump to hyperspace when her squadron arrived. The Vorthons never saw the human ships. They only saw their own vessels beginning to tear themselves apart. "What is happening?" screamed the Vorthon fleet commander. "Damage report." "Sir, our gravity generators are reversing. The artificial gravity is pulling our ships apart from the inside." Seola watched through her sensors as 50 Vorthon ships stretched like taffy before breaking into pieces. The technology was simple once humans understood how it worked. Every alien ship used artificial gravity to keep their crews comfortable. Humans had learned to weaponize that same gravity. "All Vorthon vessels destroyed," her communications officer reported. "No survivors." "Good," Seola replied. "Send a message to the nearest Vorthon base. Tell them their tribute collection days are over." But the most important targets were not military bases or treasure fleets. They were the hidden facilities where the Keltheran Syndicate conducted their experiments on human children. Corporal Eugen Hahn led her Special Forces team into the research station orbiting Kepler 186f. They moved through the corridors like shadows, their advanced armor making them invisible to Keltheran sensors. The first laboratory they found contained 30 human children between the ages of 5 and 12. The children were strapped to metal tables while Keltheran scientists performed experiments on their living brains. Eugen had seen combat on 6 different worlds, but nothing had prepared her for this sight. Children crying for their parents while aliens cut into their skulls to study how human minds worked. "Secure the children," she ordered her team. "Document everything." Her soldiers moved efficiently, freeing the children and recording evidence of what had been done to them. Some of the children were too damaged to save. Others would never recover from what they had experienced, but they would all be going home. The Keltheran scientists tried to resist, clicking angrily about human trespassing and violation of treaty rights. They seemed genuinely confused about why the humans were angry. "These specimens were legally acquired," the head scientist protested. "We paid the proper fees to your government." Eugen stared at the alien through her helmet display. "Our government sold you children?" "Of course, 50,000 credits per specimen. We have been purchasing human children for medical research for 12 years. Something cold and final settled in Eugen's heart. The human government had been selling their own children to aliens for experiments. "All Keltharan personnel will be terminated," she announced to her team. "No survivors." But before they died, Eugen made sure the Keltharans understood exactly what they had done wrong. She activated quantum beacons throughout the facility, broadcasting everything they found to every species in the galaxy. Within hours, the images were spreading through alien communication networks. Pictures of human children being dissected, while still alive. Videos of Keltharan scientists laughing as they tortured small beings who cried for their mothers. The reaction was immediate and violent. Even alien species that hated humans were horrified by what they saw. 3 different galactic powers declared war on the Keltharan Syndicate before the day was over. Admiral Bong-Soo Lee coordinated the overall strategy from his command ship, the hidden dreadnought Vengeance. The ship was 3 times larger than anything humans were supposed to own, built in secret shipyards using technology the aliens thought they controlled. "Status report," Bong-Soo ordered. "All primary targets eliminated," his operations officer reported. "Korvac Prime destroyed. Vorthon treasure fleet eliminated. Keltheran research facilities captured and their crimes broadcast galaxy-wide. Secondary effects? The Draknor hegemony has declared martial law and recalled 60% of their fleet to defend their core worlds. The Vorthon Empire is mobilizing for war but cannot determine who they are fighting. The Keltheran Syndicate is facing rebellions on 14 worlds as other species turn against them." Bong-Soo nodded with satisfaction. "And human casualties?" 43 personnel lost in the facility raids, 0 casualties in the space operations. In less than 24 hours, humans had eliminated 3 major threats while suffering minimal losses. More importantly, they had turned the alien powers against each other. But the most devastating attack was yet to come. Harmony Station, the neutral diplomatic hub where humans had been humiliated for decades, was hosting an emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from every major species were demanding answers about the mysterious attacks. High Executor Thraz pounded his fist on the council table. "These terrorist attacks must be stopped immediately. The humans are clearly behind this violence." "What evidence do you have?" asked the Nexari ambassador. The Nexari were a peaceful species that had always treated humans fairly. Who else could it be? Their colonies were destroyed, so now they are lashing out like wounded animals. Councillor Vex, what remained of the Keltheran delegation, was less concerned with evidence. "The humans have violated every treaty. They have attacked civilian targets and stolen classified research data." "You mean they rescued children you were torturing?" The Nexari ambassador replied coldly. "I saw the broadcasts. What you were doing to those young ones was monstrous. It was legal research under Galactic Code 77 Alpha. Perhaps that code needs to be changed." While the aliens argued among themselves, a massive Draknor dreadnought called Pride of Korvac was approaching Harmony Station. The ship was 10 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to sterilize a solar system. Its captain intended to destroy the station and everyone on it, then blame the explosion on human terrorists. The captain had no way of knowing that his ship's navigation system had been compromised by Wraith 3 hours ago. "Approaching target," the Draknor navigator reported. "Weapons charging for full orbital bombardment." "Excellent," the captain rumbled. "Destroy the station. Leave no survivors." But instead of firing on Harmony Station, the Pride of Korvac suddenly accelerated directly toward it. The navigation system had been reprogrammed to interpret the station as empty space and the empty space as a station. "Captain, we are on collision course with the target. Impossible. Correct our heading immediately." "I cannot. Navigation controls are not responding." The massive dreadnought, traveling at near light speed, crashed into Harmony Station with the force of a small star exploding. The station disintegrated instantly, along with most of the Galactic Council. In the wreckage, emergency beacons activated automatically. Search and rescue teams would find only one survivor, Ambassador Taiho Kim, who had been in the station's emergency bunker when the accident occurred. When the rescue teams found him, Taiho was unconscious, but alive. His survival was remarkable. Some might even call it miraculous, or carefully planned. Word of the Harmony Station disaster spread quickly through alien space. The official story was that a Draknor ship had suffered a navigation malfunction and accidentally destroyed the diplomatic hub. But some beings began to suspect the truth. Humans had been humiliated at Harmony Station for decades. Now it was gone, destroyed by the very aliens who had used it to oppress weaker species. The message was clear, even if no human said it out loud. "If you hurt us, eventually we will hurt you back." But the attack on Harmony Station served another purpose. 6 months after the first strikes, the galaxy looked completely different. The Draknor hegemony had lost 40% of their territory to internal rebellions. Desperate species that had been oppressed for centuries suddenly found themselves equipped with advanced weapons that appeared mysteriously on their worlds. The weapons always came with simple instructions written in the local language. No human signatures, no return addresses, just tools of liberation and a message. Use these well. The Vorthan Empire was collapsing economically. Their tribute system had depended on a steady flow of wealth from weaker species. When humans stopped paying, other species decided they could stop too. Without tribute money, the Vorthans could not maintain their massive fleet. High Executor Thraz sat in his command chamber, staring at reports of defeat after defeat. 17 fortress worlds destroyed by unknown weapons. 63 tribute, fleets eliminated by invisible attackers. 200 colony worlds in open revolt. "Sir," his aide reported nervously, "we have received another message from the humans." Thraz took the message tablet with trembling hands. For 6 months, humans had been sending him the same offer once per week. He had ignored it every time, hoping his forces could locate and destroy the human fleets. They had not found a single human ship. The message was as polite and reasonable as ever. The human government offers the Vorthan Empire a non-aggression treaty. In exchange for recognition of human sovereignty and immediate cessation of tribute demands, humans will provide limited trade agreements and defensive support against common enemies. At the bottom was a new addition. This offer expires in 72 hours. It will not be renewed. Thraz had spent 40 years believing humans were weak primitives who could be pushed around forever. But weak primitives did not make entire star systems disappear. They did not turn proud empires into begging nations. "Send a reply," he ordered. "Tell them we accept their terms." The Keltheran Syndicate had suffered the worst fate of all. After, their child experimentation facilities were exposed. Every civilized species in the galaxy hunted them like criminals. Keltheran survivors scattered to the edges of known space, hiding in asteroid belts and dead systems. But humans found them anyway. Counselor Vex, former head of the Syndicate's research division, lived in a stolen freighter drifting between 2 gas giants. She had 15 loyal followers and enough supplies to last 3 months. She thought she was safe. She was wrong. A human ship materialized next to her vessel without warning. It was larger than anything humans were supposed to own, covered in weapon ports that glowed with contained energy. The communication system activated automatically. A calm human voice spoke in perfect Keltheran. "Counselor Vex, you are charged with crimes against sentient children. Surrender for trial or be destroyed." "Where you float," Vex clicked her mandibles angrily. "I will not surrender to primitives. I committed no crimes. Human children are not legally sentient under galactic law. Galactic law has changed. New regulations recognize all sapient species as fully sentient regardless of age or developmental stage. Child experimentation is now classified as a war crime punishable by execution. Who authorized these changes? The Galactic Council is dead. The Terran Council authorized these changes. We are the new Galactic Authority." Vex made a sound of disbelief. "Humans cannot declare themselves a Galactic Authority. You are a Tier 3. Species. Species classifications have been updated. Humans are now Tier 1. Your species has been reclassified as Tier 5. Extinct." The human ship fired once. Vex and her followers became particles of superheated gas drifting in space. On Earth, the human government was dealing with an unprecedented situation. They had never planned to become a galactic superpower. They had just wanted to survive. President Da-Hyun Cho stood in the Situation Room, surrounded by military advisors and alien experts. 6 months ago, she had been running a small colonial government that begged for scraps from alien masters. Now she was making decisions that affected the entire galaxy. "Status report," she ordered. General Minwoo Kang stepped forward. "All major threats to human colonies have been eliminated. The Draknor, Vorthan, and Keltheran forces are no longer capable of offensive operations against our territory. What about other species? 47 governments have requested defensive alliances with us. 62 species have applied for trade agreements. 18 empires have formally apologized for previous hostile actions." Da-Hyun shook her head in amazement. 6 months ago, we were paying tribute to these people. Now they want to be our allies. Fear is an excellent motivator, General Kung replied. They saw what we did to the species that hurt us. They do not want to be next. Dr. Minji Park, who had been promoted to Director of Alien Relations, spoke up from her seat at the table. We need to be careful about how we use this power. The galaxy is watching everything we do. What do you recommend? We offer protection to species that treat us fairly. We crush species that threaten us, but we always give them a choice first. And if they choose poorly? Minji's expression was cold and final. Then they learn what happened to Korvac Prime. 3 weeks later, Captain Jabamo led humanity's first official diplomatic mission since the attacks began. But this was not the same kind of diplomacy humans had practiced before. The human fleet that entered Galactic Council space was composed of 12 dreadnoughts, each one larger than the biggest alien warship ever built. Their hulls were inscribed with the names of every human world that had been destroyed or enslaved over the past 40 years. The lead ship was called the Sejong's Revenge. The new Galactic Council met on Nexar Prime, the homeworld of the peaceful Nexari species. The Nexari had always treated humans fairly, so humans had chosen their world as the site of the new galactic government. Captain Jabum walked into the council chamber, wearing a simple military uniform, not the elaborate ceremonial robes that alien diplomats preferred. Behind him walked 12 human soldiers carrying the flags of every human colony. The alien representative stood when he entered, not out of respect, but out of fear. I am Captain O of the Terran Defense Force, he announced. I speak for humanity and for all species under human protection. High Executor Thraz, looking much older and thinner than he had 6 months ago, stood up slowly. Captain O, the Vorthan Empire wishes to discuss terms for— Sit down, Jabum said quietly. Thraz sat down immediately. For 40 years, humans attended council meetings as supplicants. We begged for fair treatment. We asked for basic rights. We offered friendship and cooperation. Jabum's voice was calm but carried the weight of mountains. You responded with slavery, theft, and genocide. He activated a holographic display showing images from Sejong Prime before its destruction. Happy families, children playing in parks, farmers working in fields. 2 billion people lived here. They were murdered to test weapons. Not because they threatened anyone, but because alien empires wanted to see how efficiently they could kill. The display changed to show the current state of Sejong Prime. Empty space where a world used to be. This is what happens when peaceful species are pushed too far. Remember this image. Study it carefully. Share it with your children and your children's children. Jabum walked around the council table, looking each alien representative in the eye. Humans are no longer asking for anything. We are informing you of the new reality. Species that threaten human interests will be eliminated. Species that cooperate with us will prosper. The choice is yours. A Draknor general who had somehow survived the purges stood up angrily. You cannot dictate terms to the entire galaxy. We outnumber you millions to 1. Jabum smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Numbers did not help Korvac Prime. Superior technology did not help the Vorthan tribute fleets. Political connections did not help the Keltheran research stations. He pressed a button on his communication device. Would you like a demonstration of current human capabilities? That will not be necessary, the Nexari ambassador said quickly. I believe we all understand the situation clearly. Good. Then, let me explain the new Galactic Ord. Jabum activated another holographic display showing a map of the galaxy divided into different colored zones. Green zones are under human protection. Any attack on these worlds will be considered an attack on humanity itself. Yellow zones are neutral territories where all species may trade freely under human-enforced regulations. Red zones are restricted areas where dangerous species are contained. What about our existing territories? Asked the Vorthan representative. You may keep any worlds you can govern without oppressing other species. Human observers will monitor your activities. Violations of sentient rights will result in immediate intervention. The meeting continued for 6 hours as humans laid out The rules of the new galaxy. There would be no more tribute systems, no more slavery of advanced species, no more experimentation on children, no more genocide for entertainment. Any species that violated these rules would face the same fate as Korvac Prime. When the meeting ended, the alien representatives filed out in silence. They had entered the chamber as the rulers of the galaxy. They left as subjects of a new human empire, but J-Bum had been careful to give them something more valuable than power. He had given them hope. For the first time in galactic history, weak species did not have to fear the strong. 100 years had passed since the day humans snapped. Professor Gyuan Moon stood before a classroom filled with young beings from dozens of different species. Humans sat next to Nexari. Former Draknor nobility studied alongside the descendants of liberated slave races. Even a few Vorthon students attended, their people having earned forgiveness through decades of peaceful cooperation. Today we study the most important event in galactic history, Professor Moon announced. The year when humanity transformed from victims to protectors and changed the nature of interstellar civilization forever. He activated the holographic display, showing images of the old galaxy. Massive alien empires controlling hundreds of worlds through force and fear. Weak species paying tribute to survive. Children being stolen from their families for experiments. For thousands of years, the galaxy operated on a simple principle: the strong dominated the weak. This was accepted as natural law, but one species proved that natural law could be changed. A young Draknor student raised her claw. "Professor, why did humans wait so long to fight back? They suffered for decades before responding." Excellent question, Ketha. Dr. Youngie Park at the Institute for Cultural Studies has spent 30 years researching exactly that phenomenon. The display showed Dr. Park's most famous research paper, The Snap: Understanding Collective Breaking Points in Peaceful Species. Dr. Park's findings show that humans did not act from anger or hatred. They acted from a calculated decision that cooperation had failed. This makes them fundamentally different from other warrior species. Professor Moon changed the display to show before and after images of human colonies. The first showed malnourished families and empty food warehouses. The second showed thriving cities and abundant harvests. The human response was not emotional revenge. It was systematic problem-solving. They identified threats to their survival and eliminated them with precise efficiency. A Nexari student spoke up. "But Professor, how did they develop such advanced weapons so quickly?" They did not develop them quickly. They had been preparing for 15 years while appearing completely helpless. This is what we call the human paradox. They grew strongest when they seemed weakest. The display showed secret footage from the underground facilities on Earth. Engineers working on stealth technology, scientists building artificial intelligence, military planners studying alien weaknesses. While human diplomats smiled and bowed in council meetings, human scientists were reverse engineering every piece of alien technology they could find. When they finally acted, they possessed weapons more advanced than anything their enemies had. An elderly Vorthon student raised his hand. "Professor Moon, my grandfather was High Executor Thraz. He told me that humans gave warning before attacking. Is this true?" "Yes, Korvac. Your grandfather received 17 separate diplomatic protests about the tribute increases. He ignored them all. Humans always give their enemies opportunities to change course peacefully." Professor Moon displayed a timeline showing human diplomatic efforts alongside alien responses. For 37 years, humans filed formal complaints about their treatment. They requested fair hearings. They offered compromise solutions. They tried every peaceful method available under galactic law. "What changed?" asked a young human. Student, Sejong Prime. When 2 billion humans were murdered as a weapons test, humanity realized that no amount of peaceful cooperation would ever earn them fair treatment. They had tried diplomacy. It had failed completely. The professor activated another display showing Wraith's psychological analysis of alien leadership. The artificial intelligence called Wraith studied alien decision-making patterns for months. It concluded that the major empires were fundamentally incapable of treating humans fairly. They saw kindness as weakness and cooperation as submission. So, humans stopped being kind? Asked the Draknor student. No, Ketha. Humans stopped being patient. There is an important difference. Professor Moon showed images of the new galactic order, peaceful trade between species, protected colonies where weak races could develop without fear, schools where alien children learned alongside human children. Humans did not become conquerors. They became enforcers of justice. Under human protection, more species have achieved prosperity than in the previous 1,000 years of galactic history. The class spent the next hour reviewing specific battles and their outcomes. The precision bombing of Korvac Prime, the gravity weapon attacks on Vorthon fleets, the rescue operations at Keltheran research stations. Every human military action had two purposes, Professor Moon explained. Immediate tactical results and long-term strategic messaging. They wanted aliens to understand that aggression against peaceful species would always be punished. As the class period ended, a small Keltheran student approached the professor's desk. Her species had been nearly extinct after their crimes were exposed, but a few had survived by completely abandoning their old ways. Professor, my people did terrible things to human children. Why did humans allow any of us to survive? Professor Moon looked down at the young being with kind eyes. Because humans learned to separate individuals from their governments. Your people's leaders made evil choices, but that did not make every Keltheran evil. Humans judge each being by their own actions. Later that day, Dr. Youngie Park was conducting her own research in the archives beneath the University of New Terra. She was preparing her next paper on human psychology. The evolution of protection. How victims become guardians. Her assistant, a young Nexari named Jolon, helped her review historical documents from the transition period. Dr. Park, I found something interesting in the military communications from that time. What is it? Jolon displayed a message sent between human ships during the first strikes. It was short and simple. Remember why we fight, not for conquest, but for the children who come after us. Dr. Park smiled sadly. That message was sent by Lieutenant Hyun Nam, the man who lost his family on Sejong Prime. Even in his darkest moment, he was thinking about protecting future generations. Is that why humans succeeded where other warrior species failed? Exactly. Most conquerors fight for power, territory, or revenge. Humans fought for the right to exist peacefully. That gave them moral authority that pure military strength could never provide. Dr. Park's research had identified the key difference between human aggression and typical warfare. When aliens fought, they sought to dominate their enemies. When humans fought, they sought to eliminate threats to peaceful coexistence. The galaxy learned something important from watching humans. She continued. Violence is not inherently evil if it protects the innocent from those who would harm them. That same day, far from the universities and research centers, Captain Inhuan Song was patrolling the galactic rim in his ship, the Peacekeeper. His crew was young, born after the transition, but they had learned the lessons of history. The ship's sensors detected a distress signal from an unknown star system. Captain Song recognized the energy signatures immediately. A powerful species was attacking a weaker one, using the old patterns of galactic dominance. Communications, open a channel to the attacking fleet. His communications officer, Lieutenant Soman Park, established contact with the aggressors. They called themselves the Zalathi Conglomerate, and they had apparently missed the lessons of the past century. The Zalathi fleet commander appeared on screen, a reptilian being covered in metallic scales. Human vessel, you are far from your territory. This system is under Zalathi authority now. Not anymore, Captain Song replied calmly. You have 60 seconds to withdraw from this system and release any captives you have taken. The Zalathi commander hissed with laughter. You are one small ship against 40 dreadnoughts. Your threats are meaningless. Captain Song looked at his bridge crew. They were all descendants of people who had lived through the dark times before human liberation. They understood what was at stake. Zalathi commander, let me give you some free education in galactic history. 100 years ago, aliens said the same thing to humans that you are saying to me now. He activated his tactical display, showing the locations of 17 cloaked human warships that had been following the Zalathi fleet for 3 days. They were wrong then. You are wrong now. The Zalathi commander's expression changed from amusement to fear as his sensors detected the human ships materializing around his fleet. Each human vessel was larger and more advanced than anything the Zalathi had ever built. This is Captain Song of the Terran Defense Force. You are now surrounded by human warships. You have 30 seconds to surrender. Wait, the Zalathi commander said quickly. We were not aware this system was under human protection. All systems containing peaceful species are under human protection. That has been galactic law for 100 years. But we need the resources from these worlds. Our empire is expanding, and we require tribute from conquered species to maintain our fleet. Captain Song smiled coldly. Then you really have not been reading your history books. He opened a general communication channel to every ship in both fleets. All vessels, Zalathi and otherwise, please observe carefully what happens to species that refuse to abandon their aggressive behavior. The lead Zalathi dreadnought, a massive ship carrying 50,000 crew members, suddenly began to compress,